LiberalViewer presents.
So many of you probably remember how opposing amnesty for violations of immigration laws was an important litmus test in the Republican presidential nomination fight, as you can see in this statement from John McCain in a New Hampshire debate on January 5th.
Let me just say, I've never supported amnesty. A few nights ago, Joe Lieberman and I had a town hall meeting together. It was a rather unusual event. The issue came up. Joe Lieberman said John McCain has never supported amnesty, and anybody says that he does is a liar, is lying.
But I'm not lying when I point out John McCain does support amnesty, but not amnesty for the hardworking poor people coming to America to look for work, of course, but rather McCain supports amnesty for the huge telecommunications corporations whose lobbyists are so close with McCain. And McCain showed his support for that amnesty by voting for the politically named Protect America Act, more accurately described on last week's Colbert Report here.
The Protect America Act, which, as the name clearly states, empowers the NSA to tap your phones without a warrant.
And the so-called Protect America Act not only authorizes massive amounts of spying on Americans using warrantless wiretaps, but as Colbert further explained,
the biggest way that the Protect America Act would protect America is by granting retroactive immunity to the telecom companies that help the government violate their customers' so-called privacy. Without immunity, they could get their pants suit off them. These companies, folks, are American heroes. When the president needed help, they reported for duty. Now, folks, they need our help. But the Democrat Congress refuses to give them the protection they deserve under the law.
Now, if you give someone protection under the law from any punishment for breaking the law, that's not just being technically above the law, it's amnesty. And this amnesty is not just about protecting big telecommunications corporations and their profits, but it's also about protecting the Bush administration, as Ed Yonka of the ACLU of Illinois explained in a recent video conference call here.
I also have to say, quite candidly, that I'm pretty well convinced that in some ways the administration isn't so interested in immunity in order to protect the telecommunications companies as much as, unless these lawsuits go forward, we will never know the depth and the breadth of this program. We will never know who was listened to and why and how broad and expansive this program was.
So if you want us ever to be able to know about the privacy laws the Bush administration and the big corporations broke, this week is the week to tell members of the U.S. House of Representatives to say no to telecom amnesty and say no to warrantless wiretaps. Americans can find their specific representative's office by calling the U.S. Capitol switchboard at area code 202-224-3121. Or if you can't make the phone call, you can sign an online petition to Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, encouraging them to stand up and protect the Constitution in the face of the Bush administration's power grab. You can find that petition through a link in the video description or at aclu.org/encore. All of which leads me to ask, are you willing to do something to make sure the U.S. Congress protects your personal privacy rather than protecting the Bush administration and big corporations with an amnesty deal? And on that amnesty question from the beginning of my video, why are Republicans so willing to give full amnesty to Bush and the big corporations, but not even a hint of amnesty to hardworking poor people looking for jobs?
YouTube, you decide.